Hey, you know that one review I did on a Helluva Boss episode? Yeah, I'm gonna do another, but this one will be good. Greetings, viewers! 99 here, and yes, I'm doing another review of Helluva Boss. I wasn't too pleased with the last one I did. Apart from the stuff about cherubs and the symbolism of lambs, it kinda felt like a clusterfuck. And that might be because the episode itself was a clusterfuck. I call it that with love. Episode 5, however. Now, this is an episode I feel like I can sink my analytical teeth into, no matter how dull they probably are. So, another character I didn't mention in my first review was Stolas, Prince of Hell, who is based on an actual character in mythology. How cool is that? He was the original owner of the book called the Grimoire that Imp uses to travel to the living world, but he allows Imp to use it in exchange for some sexual favors from Blitz. Yeah, Blitz isn't exactly happy about this arrangement either. Stolas really isn't meant to loan this book out to anyone, however, and needs it every full moon to perform certain duties. One of said duties would be to give his blessing at the Harvest Moon Festival in the Ring of Wrath, after which this episode is named. The Ring of Wrath is apparently where all the vegetables in hell come from, or at least that's the implication the episode left me with, and is seemingly occupied exclusively by imps, or those are the only demons we see in this episode, besides Stolas and some demon animals. Since Imp can't really do anything without the Grimoire, Blitz accepts Stolas' invitation. Just gonna get this out of the way. While a lot of people consider this episode to be the best so far, it has some really choppy animations in those scenes, like the one where Blitz calls Moxie and Millie to tell them that Stolas has invited them to the Harvest Moon Festival. The most blatant example of choppy animation takes up to 2 minutes more or less. Considering that every new episode is put out each month, I have unfortunately no choice other than to come to the conclusion that instead of trying to polish these scenes, Viv decided to just put the episode out there to meet some arbitrary deadline. Not sure if anyone who works with Viv is going to see this, but the advice that I would give them is that if you want to make something great, then take your time on it. Something good takes time, but something rushed is flawed forever. Said the guy who always sounds like he's talking in a run-on sentence whenever he records. There have been plenty of leaks leading up to this episode, one of them being that Millie's parents would have some sort of involvement in the plot. And, they kinda do.
Greetings, Lynn. Joe? How have you been with all the flaming twisters and stuff around here?
We lost our old farmhand to one of them terrors last week.
oh, crumbs. My bad.
Yeah, many folks they don't like Moxie because he doesn't really fit their standards of being a man, especially since things like Imps for the Ring of Wrath apparently have a reputation of being physically powerful and aggressive. Now they really don't go out of their way to condescend to Moxie, like in-laws and other TV shows do. But what doesn't help matters is they introduce him to their latest ranch-hand striker, who immediately charges Millie and Blitz.
Not many imps start businesses on their own. That's pretty impressive, sir.
Oh. Yeah, it is. I guess it is, isn't it?
So I've heard from other YouTubers that imps are on the lowest rung of the social ladder in hell, being looked down on by sinners and demons that were naturally born there. One character who doesn't really seem to mind imps is Stolas, and even then he comes off as a little innocently insulting during his Harvest Moon speech. Imps that live in the Ring of Wrath perform as an agricultural community, and apparently think that freelance work literally means working for free. Though now I really have to ask, if imps are regarded as second-class citizens, then who bothered to build an entire city for them? You could argue that it was imps that built Imp City, but if it was, then how'd they have so much money and material to build it? Are there higher class demons out there that actually don't mind imps and actually like them? Or was this just some sort of PR move? While Imp is visiting, Millie's dad suggests that Blitz and Striker take part in the Pain Games, which are competitions to see which imp is the toughest.
Wish I could play.
Millie, you know you get too carried away. The last competition ended in 15 separate funerals.
I'm aware, but I only caused 9 of them. How come Sally Mae still gets to compete?
Your sister doesn't have a neighborhood head count.
You know, with how casually this show treats death, I'm surprised any of its characters would actually care about the number of fatalities.
You know, she can also cheer for me.
Wait, you?
Yeah. I can compete, can't I?
Sorry, boy, but I don't think sensitive thespian types would last very long in the games.
Yeah, this episode seems to want to imply that Moxie's physically weak, especially when compared to other imps. Except he isn't. Moxie's imp's weapons guy, and while it is treated as a gag, he's been shown to carry multiple weapons on him at all times. Now, I don't know if you know this, but weapons like sniper rifles are pretty heavy, and it takes considerable physical training to lift, carry, and handle such a firearm. There's also the fact that in the first episode, when Moxie is tied up by a pair of sadistic kids, he's able to cut his bonds, overpower one of the kids, and escape. So he's not exactly weak when it comes to physical combat either. Having been thoroughly humiliated during the games, Moxie finds something interesting in Striker's room.
Oh my crumbles. A genuine Carmine-crafted blessing-tipped rifle. How in the fuck did he get one of these?
Why don't you ask me, little dude?
Shit! Why do you have this, mister? You are aware this kind of weapon can kill.
Demon royalty.
Yes, that.
No shit. That's kind of the point.
Okay.
After overpowering Moxie and Millie when she came to her husband's defense, Striker tosses them in the basement, and Millie's taken out of the episode when her leg is clamped in a bear trap. And during all of this, I can't help but think, really? Did no one else in the house hear all that commotion? Did no one see Striker drag 2 imps out of the house? I mean, if Millie could hear a lamp shattering from upstairs while she was outside the house, why couldn't anyone else hear a fight going on? It just feels like convenient writing to me. Now, sometimes these episodes like to have lessons, and apparently the moral of this episode is that you don't need to try and be something you're not just to get the approval of others, so long as there are people out there that appreciate you for who you are. While this is a lesson I can get behind, I feel it would work better if Millie's parents had been in any of the festival scenes. And yeah, look, they aren't in any of the crowd shots.
Excuse me, the fuck?
Blitz! I thought you were still at the ceremony.
You thought I wanted to stand around with a bunch of hillbillies excited about corn and shit with a thirsty owl on stage?
Huh. And now you seem disappointed in me.
Yeah, well, I'm not a fan of someone I offered a job to about to off my easiest lengthy ticket to Earth behind my back.
So this is something I heard being talked about in a stream discussing the episode. Why does Blitz care if someone kills Stolas? It's not established how the Grimoire works, whether it's independent of him or its magic is tied to his life, so that it would just become an ordinary book if he were killed. Plus, Blitz is really blamed about his dislike of Stolas. Striker tries to convince Blitz to work with him, citing that they're both imps, trying to distance themselves what other demons think of their species, and that Kanea Prince of Hell would be an example of how dangerous they can be. For a bit, it seems like it works, but it's revealed, I guess, that Blitz was just buying time for Moxie to steal Striker's gun. Another cool fight scene, but then Nuna screws up what could have been a badass scene for Moxie, and Striker escapes.
I failed to kill the target at the festival. But don't worry, ma'am. It won't happen again.
It better not. I want this cheating prick dead. I don't care who you have to go through. Make it happen!
The reveal that the person who hired Striker to kill Stolas was his wife Stella is meant to be a twist reveal, and I really don't think it is. I mean, maybe it's just because I've watched Evil Women, and I've heard stories about women either hiring assassins to kill their husbands or killing their husbands themselves. But is it really that hard to believe that Stella would want her husband dead for cheating on her, especially with someone she considers below their social class? Moments of choppy animation aside, like a lot of people, I consider this to be the best episode so far. I think it was mainly because of Striker, and I feel it was mainly because he stands a bit above other antagonists in the show. Unlike previous antagonists who were over the top crazy, or just screwed with Blitz just because, Striker feels more like than just a one-note character, or at least that's the impression he left on me. He knows how to flatter people and get to them on a personal level. Striker also has a disdain for higher-class demons, since it's pretty obvious that he was mixing business with pleasure when he was setting up to take a shot at Stolas. Out of all the villains, I feel that Striker is the one that people would like to see come back the most. With all that said, this is Night at Eye saying, thanks for letting me share my thoughts. Please share yours with me.